Bro, did you? No, because you're going to put this on the show.
Who?
But have y'all seen this little girl?
Who?
Not a little girl. I don't even know how old she is. Where she does those sounds and...
No.
Y'all ain't seen it?
No.
I think they call her Pinky Doll or something. Bro, y'all need to Google or Twitter search Pinky Doll. There's this girl.
Pinky Doll.
I know, right? There's this girl where... I don't even know how to explain it, but it's been going on all week or the last 2 weeks.
Just watching Pinky Doll.
Now listen, and I guarantee you all our viewers. I guarantee you all our viewers know what I'm talking about.
I'm very interested to see where this is going.
I don't kink shame, but
I'm just saying.
Let's get the show started.
What you watch, you know what I'm talking about. But it's like some kind of social media thing where all your viewers are like sending you certain tasks to do, and they're paying for the task. So you do it
across my timeline.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So what is it? What is it?
Bruh.
Her name is Pinky
I don't
Doll.
know what it is, but like it got me
either.
worried for like the next generation.
So what I'm trying to say,
It literally got me
things
worried
that
for
are
the
cool
next
now.
generation.
I don't know what's cool anymore. You got to tell me
If you watch
cool.
this,
What is it?
you got to watch it. You
Bro,
can't even
ask me
explain
that question. We don't know how to answer. We don't know how to say what it is.
Man, I love how you can search. So this is it right here. And I saw another one.
This is it, right?
The gang always make me laugh, man. Gang.
Yes, gang. Ice cream so good. Oh, take it, Ian. You got me feeling like a queen, huh?
This bro shook right now. Look at his face. He is so shook.
That's all she does, bro. And look how focused she is. Like she ain't missing none of them things.
Oh, so she's clipping like each one, and she's just like going through like one after another.
Yes.
You got me feeling like a cowgirl. You ready, huh? Hee-haw, yes. You got me feeling like a cowgirl. You ready,
Bruh. I mean, like.
I don't know, man.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, I know that you guys have been drafting for a while now, and so you have a number of drafts underneath your belt. Let's talk about the players who you have the most exposure with. Like, AB, like, who have you like been drafting over and over and over again, and you haven't really realized that you have like so many shares of this particular player?
Oh man, I mean, to be quite honest, like I think most of the guy, from an ownership standpoint, most of the guys I'm like heavy weighted on. I'm fairly aware because they're just guys that I usually take a couple of rounds ahead of ADP, and typically these are like your later round guys. Yeah. So like it's very easy for me just to like, jump a couple of rounds because I really think like. Honestly, like after
value
round,
gets flat at that point.
Yeah, after round 14, 14 through 20, like if you're in the FFPC league or really any league that has like 20 plus rounds, like it's really just a bunch of dart throws. So for me, I try to identify guys that I am high on, and this is where I really want to be overweight on certain players. So to name a few, guys I've kind of cherry picked, Hayden Hurst, Jelani Woods, both of those are about 40% ownership.
That's high.
That is high, and obviously, I'm over at the FFPC tight end premium scoring. So tight end premium, you get 1.5 points per PPR for tight ends. Everybody else gets 1 point per reception. So tight ends, obviously, especially if they're tight ends who catch a lot of passes, they can do damage in any given week. So for these guys, we all really like the idea of trying to find that late round tight end, especially because I think for most of us, we really try to avoid drafting some of these higher end guys early on. We found a lot of advantage, some value, and have been fortunate to find these like diamond in the rough type tight ends. So it's something I'm just going to continue to do.
But let's work our way back up the board though, because like let's talk about like those high end players that you have a lot of exposure on. Like who, like towards the top of the board?
Yeah,
because that's what people really want to know.
Yeah,
who at the top of the board do you have that exposure on?
People
who
can
you
care less
high
about
on?
Hayden Hurst.
Come on.
So again, I've been drafting early. So a lot of these guys I was just getting because I was just like, there's no way I'm letting this guy fall past this round, and I'm just going to get as much as I can because I felt like these guys were also going to move up boards. Yeah. You know, I just sort of kind of looked at the board as a whole, and I felt like once training camp started, once a little bit of news came out, once situations became a little bit more clarified, these guys were going to move up. So, you know, the first guy is Keenan Allen. I think, you know, obviously we have in our minds last year him missing quite a bit of the season, especially the first half. But I think people fail to realize or really don't appreciate how strong he finished the season. Yeah. And so I know he's getting older. A couple of months ago, I sent out this tweet about old, aging wide receivers, and it was specifically old, aging wide receivers who started on new teams. And that list just like made me just like really open my eyes to the idea that if a wide receiver is truly elite, even into their 30s, they can still produce with elite numbers. Yeah. Devontae Adams was another, you know, example of that. So I like the way he finished. He's a target monster. You know, I don't want to go into the offense too much, but obviously they bought Kellen Moore in. And I really feel like this offense is going to move away from just, you know, this dink and dunk to Austin Eckler to more, you know, downfield passing. And
are you not worried about his age at all?
I'm not. You know, again, going through that list, y'all, you know, I wish I could, you know, if I find it, I'll go ahead and drop it on Twitter. But basically, if you Google aging wide receivers traded to new teams or first year on new teams, and you go down through that list, it really highlights that if these wide receivers are truly elite, we can't necessarily just anticipate a drop off. And again, you know, watching him play at the end of the last year, the target share that he, you know, that he earned, I'm not too concerned. I really not. I mean, the risk of injury is still there, but the fourth round, the reason my ownership percentage is so high is because he was just going to the late, you know, round 4. And he may have been going later than that, but I just, you know, anytime I was like in the mid to late round 4, I was just taking him every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, Dio, like how many drafts have you had so far this year?
Man, come on, man.
Come on. I mean, like ballpark figure.
I don't answer questions like that.
Man,
but I answer your question as far as exposure, right?
But the exposure doesn't matter if you've only had like 2 or 3 drafts. And I know
I've had more than 2 or 3 drafts.
All right, well then give us a ballpark figure how many drafts you've had.
He's got double figures.
I had double figures.
All right.
So
triple figures.
So first of all, hell no.
20 plus.
By the way, and we were talking about this earlier. I have way more dynasty teams than I do redraft teams. Yeah. Like redraft teams, almost like second backhand for me. Yeah. But so this question is interesting because the way Abby started answering is the way I kind of was expecting it to be answered. And the fact that when you think about doing multiple teams, the players that you end up having the most exposure to are typically the guys that are later in the drafts because at that point you're just picking your guys. Yeah. It doesn't matter if a guy's in the 15th or the 18th round. You're just getting your guys. You end up wanting those same guys over and over and over. So for me, you know, my most high ownership is going to be like your Malik Davis because I feel like I don't think Pollard can keep that workload to himself all season long. Yeah. So I'm basically banking on that. Yeah. I'm still high on Marvin Mims. I was getting him a fair amount.
Yeah, I got 35% up there.
You know, Rashawn Johnson, I was getting him.
Yeah, he's up there.
But players like that. But then when you ask the question, the higher end of guys, see, that's interesting for me because I tend to draft on value in the early part of the draft, right? Yeah. I tend to just say, okay, I'm at this position. Let me get a guy that typically, if I wasn't at this position, I typically wouldn't get. So if a guy falls to me, it's more like, I guess, value-based drafting. Yeah. But if you kind of remove that from the equation, my guys are going to be like your CDs. I have a fair amount of Joe Mixon. And that's probably that door's probably shutting out with the news that he restructured his contract. Or whatever. Yeah. I have a fair amount of T. Higgins when he was going in the third, like the mid-third, which I think he's back there now. Yeah. I don't got as much of him anymore because now I'm seeing other guys that are falling. But those are guys I tend to have the most or highest exposure to as far as high. And when I say the highest exposure, I'm not saying I have a whole bunch of them. Yeah. Just more so compared to the other players.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you talked about value drafting versus get your guys. Like, when do you kind of make that transition from, hey, like, I'm value drafting whoever is falling to me, I'm going to take to, hey, like now I'm in this round and I'm going to start getting my guys. Like, when is that transition for you?
So So the reason I actually value draft, especially in these tournaments, is because when I look at these boards, they tend to look the same as far as you're getting the same type of teams in the back end, middle part of the draft, and front part of the draft. So then if you just kind of flip through a whole bunch of drafts, these teams look very similar. So when I get into a draft, I then say, if I'm trying to compete against hundreds of thousands of other teams, I want to figure out a way to make my team unique. You know, because like my boy Dorsey always says, I don't want to go to the finish line holding hands with everybody and let's get to the finish line again. I want to be the outlier and kind of get to that finish line. So so I say all this to say, when I'm drafting, I try to see who these guys that are falling. Like if I'm in hole number 11 and Cooper Kupp happens to fall there, I'm going to snatch him up, regardless of how I feel about Cooper Kupp. I'm going to snatch him up because I know there's not going to be a lot of 11 slot teams that get him. And you can go through every round and kind of play that same game. So that's when I say, you know, when I'm value drafting, that's kind of the approach I want to take. Now, when I get to around like 6 or 7, when teams or player exposure starts to spread out, then I'll start getting my guys. And I was like, okay, I like this guy a little bit more. I know I was getting a fair amount of Jeff Wilson because I think he might still be the main guy in Miami at the moment.
I think we definitely have different approaches because one of my highest owned players is Steph Diggs. And that's just kind of based on my rankings because I had him really just at the bottom of that tier with Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp. So rather than like, approach it from like an ADP standpoint or a value standpoint of, okay, Christian McCaffrey fell or Austin Eckler fell, or try to diversify with the CD Lamb, somebody I'm not very high on this year. I have Steph
What's
Diggs.
the highest you would take Steph Diggs?
I have him ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You have him 6.
So I've taken him. I literally take him.
You're talking about 106.
106. Yeah.
Okay. If you're at the 110 hole, right, and Cooper Kupp and Diggs are available at 110, who are you taking?
Well, I'll take Cooper Kupp because I have Cooper Kupp ahead of Steph Diggs.
And that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I'm value drafting.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, if I value drafted, then I would have a lot more Bijan Robinson. I would have more Christian McCaffrey. I would have Austin Eckler. I have 0 of those guys.
See, I don't look at that as value because I'm not high on Bijan, regardless of where he goes. So even if I had the 12th pick, even if he fell, I probably still wouldn't take him because I just don't. I don't like Bijan as
That's what I'm saying. So in
player.
that first round, like, rather than like say, okay, or if I'm at the 11th spot and Christian McCaffrey and Steph Diggs are there, I'm taking Steph Diggs.
Over C-Mac?
Over C-Mac, and I'm probably doing it 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, see, I would take C-Mac there.
So I'm doing it 10 times out of 10, and that's kind of my approach really for the early rounds because this kind of gets to like another point as far as like we've been throwing out this term like value or trap. And I just got this weird feeling about the 2023 season when it comes to ADP that I really feel like ADP means a lot less now than it did years past. I feel like the tiers are so much larger now than they have been in years past. And I think that's because of a couple different reasons. There are just so many more fantasy relevant players. And I don't think that necessarily the pie has gotten larger, for the entire NFL.
So
I just think there's like a lot less slices.
So you coming around?
Well, not necessarily your running back tier, but let me finish this topic. Let me finish this. So there's a lot more running backs by committee. There's a lot more teams with 3 wide receivers that like really are getting drafted like in the money rounds. Running backs are getting pushed down the board. There's so many like sleeper quarterbacks throughout the league. There's so many sleeper tight ends throughout the league. Like, you have these pockets where, you got the Justin Jeffersons through the Tyreek Hills, and then you got the kind of like the true bell cows. But then, like, the rest of the board to me is just like, does it really matter, like, who you take in the 3rd versus who you take in the 6th? I think it means so much less now than it did before that really, like, to some degree, I guess that may point towards, again, I'm a volume drafter, so I still like to draft in tiers, but I have some guys who are just like not in a tier.
Well, let me ask you this question, because let's go back to what the C-Mac and Diggs thing, right?
Yeah.
You just said you have a fair amount of Diggs, right?
That's what
you've been drafting Diggs over and over.
I probably got like 28% Diggs, yes.
So going back to what I was saying earlier, if you're in the 10th hole, and C-Mac and Diggs falls to you.
Yeah.
For me, it's an easy decision to take C-Mac because for two reasons. Number one, I would have a fair amount of Diggs already, right? So it's not like I'm missing out on exposure for Diggs. If Diggs has a good season, I'm already good in that aspect.
Yeah.
Number two, there's not going to be many teams from the 10 hole that have C-Mac, so automatically your team is likely starting off unique, right? And then number three, there's a chance you're just wrong, right?
Yeah.
There's a chance Diggs doesn't have a good season this year.
You're
and there's a
absolutely
chance
right.
C-Mac does have a good season.
You're
So if
absolutely
you're doing
right.
a whole bunch of drafts and you love Diggs and you've gotten your fair amount of Diggs, and now it's like, okay, what's the next one? You're going to say, let me add another Diggs to my pile? Or let me just say, you know what? For the sake of me being a mass drafter and me being unique and knowing that I'm never going to take C-Mac in the top 6. So now that I'm at 10 and he's falling here and he'll never fall here usually, why not finally take him?
So two things. So one of the main reasons why I'm doing that is because of how I build my teams. I have 5 guys who I have in that top tier of wide receivers. And I do have that tier ranked, but I have 5 guys. And to me, after that, I see a significant drop-off. There's guys who could potentially get there. We want to hope. But for me, those 5 guys are just like guys that like I want to start my team with. And in 2023, the reason I want to start my team with that guy is because not only do I feel like it really gives me an advantage at that position, I know that there are so many running backs that I personally feel comfortable with later. And yes, you're 100% right. I could be 100% wrong. And this just kind of comes down to like how you play the game. So for me, like I am very aggressive when it comes to playing the high stakes game as a volume drafter.
You go get your guys.
Most people are going to tell you to diversify. And most people are probably right. I'm probably doing it wrong. Like, I'll agree. I'm probably doing it wrong.
I don't even think it's a right or wrong thing.
But like for me,
approach.
for me, because I know how I want to build my teams, because I know that like there's so many running backs that I feel more comfortable with later. If I can get 2 of those guys, and Devontae is very close to that group. To me, he's very close to that group. So if I can start my team off with 2 of those guys and just blow people out of the water, and then I can just clean up at running back later. Because I feel like I can grab guys. Because again, running backs are getting pushed down. We know injuries happen, et cetera, et cetera. For me, that's just how I want to start my team. I do try to diversify a little bit. I remember when I did the hard way draft, I was literally, I think, at 35% Diggs at that point. And so I was like, you know what, I'm getting, because I was also getting like a lot of these like 7 through 10 picks. So of course I got the 7th pick, I think, in that draft, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, you're right. Let me not get another Diggs team. I went A.J. Brown, and I did not like myself for it.
I got you.
You know, so I was like, at that point, I was like, you know what, it is what it is.
And that, okay, so I can't knock you for that, right? Like, I get it, but still, I would probably still win Diggs.
Yeah.
Because you can always get A.J. Brown in the back end of first if you do a fair. I mean, you do so many drafts.
Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to get your A.J. Brown in the back end of the draft. But, and again, going back to the C-Mac thing, I know, like, I haven't seen all of them, but I've never seen C-Mac go to the back end of the first.
Yeah.
So for me, if I see that,
I mean,
and
on the clock right now, if I see him at like 10, 11, 10, okay, I say 10, 11, 12, and Diggs is on the board, okay, maybe I do pull the trigger because I'm probably confident that I can get a C-Mac
fair amount receiver later on the second round.
Devontae Adams.
Right, and that's the point I was going to make as well. Like, you'll still be able to get your wide receiver and running back. But so I got one question for you, and then I have one statement. Well, I guess 2 questions.
All right.
First question, what pick, if everything is equal, what pick will you be comfortable taking C-Mac, or is he totally off your
No,
your
he's
list?
not totally off. He's not totally
Like,
off.
what pick are you like, okay, if he's here, I'm good with taking him?
So basically, yeah, like if Jefferson, Chase, Kupp, Hill, and Diggs are off the board, I'm still kind of debating on Devontae Adams, but because I know Devontae has been sliding,
get him in a second?
I just wait because I want to see how late I can get him. I've seen him fall to like 210 or 209, so I would just want to see if I can get him and try to take advantage of him falling right now. So basically, yeah, after those 5 wide receivers, I'm actually pivoting to running back. Like, I'm purposely pivoting to running back.
Okay.
Because I feel like the running backs now offer me more advantage over the CeeDee Lambs, the A.J. Browns, and the Amon-Ra.
Gotcha.
So, you know, my rankings right now, my next player right after Diggs and maybe after Adams is Jonathan Taylor, actually.
Okay.
and then Bijan, and then we get to Christian McCaffrey, and then we get to Austin Eckler. Actually, I think I have Nick Chubb right now. I'm putting Nick Chubb ahead.
Okay. So let's hash this out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because you name I think 3, maybe 4 players that are typically taken after C-Mac.
Yeah.
Adams. You mentioned JT.
Yep.
You mentioned Chubb, and you might have mentioned a 4th person,
Yeah.
right? So if you're playing it out, you're in let's say pick 9.
Yeah.
All those guys you just named are still on the board.
Mm-hmm.
All the guys you want before C-Mac are gone.
Yeah.
Would you take C-Mac at 9 and then get one of your guys that you named in the 2nd round, knowing that they're most likely going to be there? And the reason I'm asking this question, because I am kind of trying to trap you a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm asking this question because if you do that, in my view, that's actually value-based drafting. Because the guys that you think are above C-Mac, you know you can get later.
Yeah.
So instead of you getting them now, even though you have a rank higher, you take C-Mac now and then get the guy you have ranked higher later.
Okay, I'm gonna answer this question like this.
Okay.
If I do 10 drafts, let's call it 20, because even if I do 10 drafts, I think I'm still gonna not draft them. If I do 20 drafts, maybe in one of those I get C-Mac. In the rest, I take my guys, because again, I really think ADP does not matter.
Okay.
I think ADP does not matter. I think what happens is like this ADP gets set, and then we say, oh, this guy's a value. Oh, this guy like fell to X amount of rounds, and I don't think it matters. I really think Derrick Henry should be drafted ahead of AJ Brown, ahead of Amon-Ra, ahead of CeeDee Lamb. Like that's where I have him valued.
Chris.
So to me, it does not matter.
We have the ticker going right here, right?
Yeah.
Is there a ticker right there?
So C-Mac is definitely not going to be.
Oh, C-Mac is in there right now. He's number 11, right?
Number 11, okay.
Yeah, but he's getting pushed back. I think I'm moving Nick Chubb up.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I got you.
So like to me, like none of that matters. None of that matters. So I do want to diversify, but I'm diversifying with my pool.
Right.
So there are guys like I had 0 Devontae Smith.
Right.
So Devontae Smith would have to fall to like basically like the mid to late thirds for me to like.
I got you. I got you. And I just approach it differently because I approach things just with the mindset of there's a high chance I'm just wrong on a lot.
You
right?
probably win more doing that than doing what I do.
Just the chaotic nature of football.
Yeah.
There's guys that totally I'm not interested in, and then when the season comes, they actually end up smashing. Like I said, man, the team that I went the furthest in the tournament last year had players that when I looked at even now looking at the team, I'm like, how did this team even get here?
Yeah.
Like they're not. It wasn't a team full of players I was targeting during drafts. But regardless, I built that team in a certain way where they were formidable enough to be in the running.
Yeah.
And me having that thought process where like I could just be totally wrong on my assessments, just being able to just get as much exposure. And again, I'm not going to have this mindset and say, okay, I'm gonna take this person at their ADP because I don't have this guy. No. Yeah. If they're at the ADP, I'm still probably going to skip them and choose a guy I prefer.
Yeah.
But if they're falling below their ADP, and again, I usually know I'm not going to get them at their typical ADP. This is the only time I'm going to actually say, okay, let me take a share. Kind of like with your Kenneth Walker draft when he fell to the back end of the 5th.
Yeah, at that point, he fell to the bottom of the tier. And it was still a question because it was more a question on how I wanted to build that team.
Right.
But I felt comfortable taking them there. I think, I think to me, like I was just trying to, when you're at the back end of the draft, you got to like make tough decisions because you're not going to pick again for like 20 plus picks.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
But yeah, and I also think Dio is kind of selling himself short because part of that team like is about in-season roster management.
Yep.
Right.
And so like we're going to talk more about that as
By the
we
way,
go
I
along.
think that's more important than drafting.
It is. Yeah.
This season specifically, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think this season there are going to be so many guys that are going to produce. There are going to be so many guys that are going to be so volatile that the most important thing, because we're all going to have guys who are going to be able to put up 15, 20-point weeks, but the most important thing is going to be able to have those guys who can do it in your starting lineup.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the year, it does not matter if somebody ranked the top 24 in wide receivers or the top 20 in running backs, if you couldn't figure out when to put them in your starting lineup.
Right.
All these guys that we're drafting in the mid to later rounds,
Right.
like the Devin A. Chains and the Rashad Batemans and whoever,
Chill out. Still trying to get a few more.
Oh man, Bateman, I've been just eating up. But like, yeah, all these guys, like, Yes, the nice, sexy name. Because you can tell your story about any of these guys. Yeah. Look how deep we can go in the draft that I can tell myself a story about Nico Collins. I mean, I don't have Nico, but I can, somebody tell me a story.
About damn Nico Collins.
I'm not either.
But you can literally go so deep in the drafts and tell your story. I can tell myself a story about, Michael Gallup all the time. He's one of my highest owned players.
I have a bet about Michael Gallup.
Yeah. Like, I can tell myself a story about Van Jefferson. I can tell myself a story about all these guys, but the story does not matter, and the end of season points do not matter if I did not accurately start those guys. If I did not feel comfortable starting my lineups. Looking back at Njoku, how many of us started him the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, and then we were like, damn. And then while he was on the bench, he blew up for like 30 plus points.
Right.
And then you're kind of in this.
Rashad Bateman did that same thing too. But one thing, and I said this, I say this every draft season. And it's just my thoughts, but I'm always like, man, when people do these drafts, right after the draft, they immediately like, this team is great. This team is going to win.
Yeah.
And I always just laugh inside because I'm like, you have no idea how that team is going to unfold. Yeah. You can't do a draft and just be assured that's the best team out there. Yeah. Injuries going to happen. There's going to be players that are on the waiver wire right now that end up being significant. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Teams are just going to not play the way you expect them to play. So I just do drafts. Yeah. Honestly, I want as much exposure to everybody I feel like has a chance. And then when we get into the season, I just massage it right. Massage it right, get that right mix.
A little masseuse.
Work on getting the right kicker. Me, in season, y'all know, we talk about kicker a lot. We talk about kicker probably way more than anybody should talk about kicker.
We do,
We start looking at defense. All these little edges we try to get just to massage it right, because for me, it's like a race in time. It's like we have from week 1 to the beginning of the playoffs to get your team right. And then when that marathon starts, it's go time.
See, but that's a good point. Like, so in that respect, we are the same, because I have this player pool. Like, these are the guys that I can tell myself a story on, and I really can believe in this narrative. And then I have this other pool of players like, man, I'm hearing all these like stories about like how this guy's gonna do this and I don't believe it. Like, I just don't personally believe that narrative. I'm not believing that story. That story is fictional to me.
Right.
This story is non-fictional. This is science. Like, this is proven. I believe
you in the lab with the test tubes and all that stuff, the beakers and everything.
Right or wrong, I'm like, this is my pool of guys. So what I'm doing in drafts is I'm trying to get as many combination of these players as possible. Because I know I'm not going to be able to get in the draft and get 100% Jamar Chase, or even 50% Jamar Chase, or 50% Jefferson. So I'm really just trying to get as many different combinations as I can. So, I'm excluding certain players. There is always a degree. Like, Christian McCaffrey's not going to, I'm not going to pass on him at 12, at the 112. Actually, I will. Because I'll take him in the 201 just to like make a point.
Just to make it go down.
He's in the second round.
So 201 is your threshold.
And the crazy thing is, I'm not really like that down on C-Mac. Like, I have no issues with I'm not arguing against like C-Mac going 3 or 4. That's just not how I build my team.
Oh, you never let me ask my second question. Back on the C-Mac, right?
Yeah.
How would you feel if C-Mac just went off this year? Like, would you be upset? Would it change your process at all that year? Or you just be like, you just take that L?
Man, my confidence level is like where it should not be. Literally, and it's been like this like for 20 years. Ask people who like I drafted with like in college.
Ask me. I know. I be trying to tell this man like, why
you do not
why
know
you
that?
so sure? Why are you so sure? He's like, I guarantee.
I just got a bet and I got it in my gut. And then if I'm wrong, you know what? I'm wrong, and I just move on.
Charles Barkley said, I guarantee.
So real quick, I want to take a quick interjection. Last week, I apologize. And I'll tell you why I'm discussing this, but I said the names wrong. Keandre Miller, I think that's how you pronounce it. Keandre Miller and Deneric Prince. I said them wrong last week. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. Somebody put that in the comments. We read the comments. My bad.
All right.
But I say that to say, well, what you're saying, what do y'all believe this Deneric Prince buzz at all?
I mean, I think that's why we saw Isaiah Pacheco come out in pads. Even he's like, look, I was like a late round draft pick, and I took this first round draft pick's job. So what's stopping this late
He feels the pressure.
Oh yeah, you got to feel the pressure.
Yeah.
But besides what he feels like, just in the draft mindset, do you think he's somebody we should maybe be targeting a little bit? Because he's going to get that first look.
Exactly.
He's going to get that first look.
Literally, you could even substitute for him for MVS. You can substitute him maybe less so for Justyn Ross.
But specifically him.
But specifically him, yes. Because that, to me, like, Isaiah Pacheco was nice, but he's not anything that's like significant. Right. So, and we don't know what's going to happen in training camp. But like you said, that first look. So he's like an easy like 20th round pick. I do see him kind of moving up now as the boards become a little bit tighter.
If you want him, you're going to have to go get him. It's just I feel like, I mean, he's like the fourth string running back, right? Yeah. You're literally using a roster spot on somebody that's to some extent a fourth stringer. Yeah. So you have to have some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost like you're certain or you know.
It's a gamble. Yeah. I don't like you, and I really don't like using the term dart throws that late because I really do think when you see some guys like Robert Woods or who else is down there. But we see guys like that who really legit could like have like, some value in drafts or value on your team. Like some of these aren't necessarily dart throws. Like, if I'm, taking Justyn Ross, like that's a dart throw, knowing like what that wide receiver room looks like. They traded for Kadarius Toney. They drafted Scott Moore last year. They drafted Rashee Rice this year. They got Travis Kelce. Yeah. They got Jerick McKinnon, a pass catching running back. Like, there's a lot that he would have to overcome to be like fantasy relevant, and he would have to like wait. So to me, that's a dart throw. But there's a lot of other people, in that position that are not dart throws, and that it doesn't matter what their upside is or what they're going to do for you, like in the money weeks. Are they going to be there at the end of the season when people say it counts? Week 1 counts.
Are you drafting Justyn Ross?
No.
In Dynasty,
I did. Like, there was a period of time where I was like taking him in the 20th, and then like, there was a period of time where I was taking like Puka Nacua,
In redraft?
In redraft.
Okay.
All these like in the 20th round pick, and I just kind of just pivoted to like other things.
If you had the option of your Dynasty team between Justyn Ross, Kayshon Boutte, and Calvin Austin, who you taking?
Oh, Justyn Ross easily.
Over the other two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't believe in Kayshon Boutte.
All right,
you pronounced that correctly, by the way.
Good job.
Don't add us. Don't drop nothing in the comments.
Guys, let's stay on drafting for a second. So we started a segment, Rate My Board, and GC Holland Singh did send us his board.
Shout out Chris.
He is. Chris Holland wanted us to rate his board. I want you guys to go through it. He's drafting from the 6th hole. Starts off the draft with Cooper Kupp, and then backdoor with Mark Andrews. What do you guys think about his draft so far?
So Cooper Kupp pick I like because, you can argue Hill, Kupp. I got Hill over Kupp, but, just getting one of those wide receivers I like. So I already like the way he started. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to, like, draft Mark Andrews. So, for me, this is like his team is one, like, if he were to tell me a story of, like, how this team is going to win, the overall Fantasy Pros championship, take down that $1 million, mm-hmm. I could potentially believe the story. I wouldn't call it completely fantasy or fictional.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's non-fictional, but I could see it. So I like the Kupp. Mark Andrews. I don't know what that offense is. Mm-hmm. They brought in a bunch of wide receivers. I don't know if his target share is going to be what it was. I think he's going to be valuable, but I don't know what it is. But I do know that on the 3-week stretch, he could put up 15 to 20 points very easily.
Oh, yeah, stacked him with Lamar Jackson.
It's not a wrong pick. Yeah, I think, maybe I go Derrick Henry there, but that's not a bad pick at all.
What do you think about that Darren Waller pick in the 5th round, knowing that he had already had Mark Andrews?
I like that because what he basically is doing is what kind of Dayo's alluding to a little bit is like how many people are, tapping a button on Mark Andrews and Darren Waller. Mm-hmm. So I like the uniqueness of that. And then I like the stack potential with the Lamar and Mark Andrews, and then he drafts Zay Flowers a little bit later in the 10th round. We'll see. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like it looks like he just missed out on Rashad Bateman, mm-hmm. One pick before, and then T Higgins. Anything could happen with T Higgins. He could just he could pay off that 3rd round ADP with the healthy Jamar Chase. That the target tree could be extremely narrow in Cincy. I do feel like this is the year Cincy
puts it all together.
Puts it all on Joe Burrow. Because even though I have a lot of Joe Mixon, mm-hmm. if you recall early on or sometime last year, I was just literally talking down how much I thought Joe Mixon looked how bad I thought he looked.
Yeah.
But the value's there in that offense, so I understand, like that's why I have a lot of them. But still, like I feel like this is Burrow's year just to do it all through the passing game. So to me, there's no difference between T. Higgins and Devontae Smith. I really see no difference whatsoever.
Dio, like who would you take, David Montgomery or Dameon Pierce? He had the choice, and he went with Montgomery. Who would you take out of those two?
Neither.
Do you like this team?
You have to choose. Yeah.
Do you like this team?
What do you think about this team?
So remember, we just talked about it. Right? I don't look at teams and say I don't like it. I might not like the way you build the team, but I can't just look at the players and say I don't like the team.
Do you like the way he built the team?
So that's what I was going to talk about. I'm going to critique the way he built the team a little bit. And again,
let him. He wants to know. He asked us. He asked you.
He asked you.
I'm a nice guy.
Let the man know.
I'm not gonna. But I look at first thing that sticks out to me is he has 2 tight ends, right? Very first thing. So automatically, this is what in my mind is a 2 tight end team, which is not very common, right? People that do that, they know that they're going to kind of be the anchors. So when I look at that, I say, okay. You most likely are saying to yourself, you're going to every week start both of those tight ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're not benching one.
Nope.
So when you do that, your one flex is already utilized.
Yeah.
Now you have one other flex.
Yep.
So when I look at the team, I see he has 1 running back and 4 wide receivers in the first 8 rounds.
Yeah.
One of those wide receivers every single week is going to be on the bench
Yep.
Yeah.
before he even filled his other starting running back slot. So that makes me a little bit,
like that, and it better
uncomfortable.
To me, it better be like a wide receiver that like, okay, during the bye week, I feel very comfortable throwing him in.
Right.
Like, that's where I want that.
And that's a rookie. And then the next receiver is a rookie.
Yep.
So you can't even really make sure those are going to be the guys. So I'm like, okay, why didn't you consider getting your running back? Now, the first running back you got, we're not even sure if he's going to be the starter.
You're
We don't really, we're not sure about his role. RBBC most likely.
So the story in this one is that he's Jamal Williams, but they have been comments that like he's a better pass catcher.
Maybe.
So,
maybe. We just don't know.
Yeah.
But you're basically, with this thing, you're banking on him being the guy.
Yeah.
And then the next running back you end up taking is another rookie, who right now we can easily say is a 3rd string running back.
And we love Devon A. Chain.
Oh, I love A.
We love A. Chain.
I love A. Chain. But I don't know if I
dicey.
can go into week 1 with him being my guy.
And the issue with this too is like, man, cut
Man,
better
y'all gonna
here.
make this dude tweet me and say
this is the issue because I'm glad you went there because I was about to, I wanted to start off nice as Mr. Nice Guy. I was gonna let you be, the bad cop, do good cop, bad cop type deal. You went kind of soft cop, so let me now transition back to bad cop. So the issue with this is like, again, like this is FFPC, so we got what 12 weeks before playoffs. You got 12 weeks before playoffs. You got a sprint.
You got to get
so
there,
you can't just like start off bad, but also. Who are you gonna feel comfortable with starting in, week 1?
Yeah.
Like
That's what I'm saying.
who are you starting with week 1? Are you just gonna take an L week 1? Because you not how you gonna know who to start?
So here's the thing.
Flowers,
Here's the
A-Chain,
thing.
or Johnston.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the crazy thing, right? And I'm always thinking about this. He gets the first look with David Montgomery. He's
does.
gonna get that first look, right? So David Montgomery's gonna play. What if David Montgomery busts? Then you're like, damn. Who the hell?
Yeah.
And you know what? I actually like the fact that he just started hammering running backs later.
And he got some good ones.
Yeah,
Devin
he got
A-Chain,
some solid
And
guys.
this is the thing. So he shot for the moon with Devin A. Chain because again, that's shooting for the moon. Jalen Warren, I'm like.
I like Warren.
I would have much rather gone Roshan Johnson.
I would have too. But with this build, because Roshan is a player you might have to wait a little bit as well.
Yeah, but you still got to wait on
But
Jalen
Jalen, too.
Jalen,
I mean-
he may just get you like 2
I think
points.
Jalen might be able to get some touches day 1.
Devin
right?
Singletary. See, I dislike
Well,
I dislike
think about the thought process.
Yeah.
Like I said, he has 2 running backs he's not really sure about.
Yeah.
So when you're at week 11, and you're saying to yourself, I want a running back.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be trying to pick a running back that if you are in a pinch, you can
That's gonna
play
give
him
you
week
some
1.
points. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Then that's Jared McKinnon. Because you at least get a first look at that one.
You get a first look, but then what if that
Or
first look
Tyler
bust?
Algier.
Yeah, maybe.
And I would rather have Jerome Ford over Jalen Warren.
But you see what we're
as
doing?
well.
We're putting ourselves in a situation where it's like we're taking guesses.
Guesses. I don't know.
And you're going into week 1. Like I want to make my guesses once I have a little bit of information.
And I feel like so much emphasis is put on like what are these guys going to do weeks 15 through 17. And I understand that. But I feel like not enough emphasis is put on weeks 1 through 4.
Yes.
Because weeks 1 through 4, like literally nobody knows.
Nobody
That's
knows.
what makes this game so fun.
I call
Weeks
it-
1 through 4, like if you are like if you were picking a time where you should be watching NFL, it is weeks 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Especially week 1. Week 1, you need to watch every single second of every single game.
It's like Christmas because
Oh,
now
yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
open
right.
your presents.
Yeah.
Like, you just been seeing the present under the tree.
yeah.
You're excited, and then we
Yeah.
now you get to open and see what it
And
really
we all
is.
been talking and yapping
you know.
and like this guy's gonna do
but
this.
anyway, so
this
finish
team
what I
about
was
to take it down.
I like he hammer running back because I mean, even now, one of those guys can hit. Like if an injury occurs, Stevenson gets hurt in training camp and they sign Fournette, he got the guy right there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have no problem with it. It's just that the team is just a little bit shaky, slightly fragile.
It's not my cup of tea.
But if he does hit on a couple guys, specifically a running back, really 2 running backs. If he hits on 2 running backs, this team can be very powerful.
Yeah.
What team on this board do you like?
This is my first time really looking at the whole board.
So Team 5 also chimed in. He stepped in and said that Alex Blake stepped in. He's team number 5. What do you guys think about Team 5?
All right, Team 5. Mr. Blake, let's take a look at the squad.
Team 5.
All right, so he started off with Christian McCaffrey. So we already know. We
Yeah.
did talk about.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I'll tell y'all right now what's my favorite team.
Who?
Team 9. I like Team 9.
Diggs, Garrett,
I like Team
and
9.
then Josh Allen.
I like the stack there. Yeah.
Because he
that's
has
not bad.
strong wide receivers. All of them are wide receiver 1s.
Yeah. And you see how he went with this 5th wide receiver, Christian Kirk? That's still a strong, flex,
wide receiver.
And a guy that you can say, okay, like, I love this matchup. I've done my research. He kills this particular secondary
The
look.
way he built his team, especially if Connor is what we think Connor's going to be,
yeah.
all he really needs to do is have one of those tight ends be a guy.
What I would have liked for him to do though is once you build around those 5 wide receivers, is to really get more running backs because you're really relying on James Conner, which again, like I love.
Can you scoot up the screen?
Aging
What are the running
Yeah,
backs?
aging
everywhere?
running back. Gibson, who
he didn't get
still
enough
is in
running
the top.
backs.
Yeah.
He didn't get
And then
enough.
the rest of the running backs, like even if like their starter goes down, I'm still not convinced that these guys are it.
Yeah, he should have hit running
so,
back
like,
a little bit more.
At that stage, what I really want to do is like make sure, okay, the running backs that I get, if the starter goes down, or if it's a questionable situation, like he passed on Rashad Penny. You may not even be a Rashad Penny guy, but like in that situation, like, man, you need to tell, like if you need to be damn sure you can't tell yourself a story of how Rashad Penny can't dominate with the Eagles. You know, and it's not that Michael Thomas is a bad pick, but for this particular team, like you already got 5 wide receivers, and yeah, Michael Thomas would be a great addition, but was it really needed? You know,
It wasn't needed, but it was a luxury pick.
Yeah.
And it could be a player where if he can hit and be a guy that you can start, and he has everything else filled except for the tight end.
But then that start doesn't make sense because then now you took Terry McLaurin, where you could have taken another running back and you could have made your running back position starter.
Well, the goal is to optimize it, right? There's could be a week where Terry McLaurin is the better option, and then another week where Michael Thomas is the better option.
Do you trust yourself to be able to say, okay, I got 6 good wide receivers, and if you believe Odell Beckham is anything, 7 good wide receivers, I'm going to be able to figure out which 4 of these wide receivers to start.
Well,
on every given week.
there's also the risk that he might just have been wrong on one of those top 4 or 5 wide receivers.
But then when do you figure out when you're wrong? Like when do you figure out
Probably,
like in season?
and that's a good topic.
That's an issue.
That's
That's
a
my
great
issue
topic.
with it. So like,
but just the way he built his team, he still built with high ceiling type players.
The start to me, honestly, the starts you could
You can scroll back up.
yeah. I'm less like when I look at these drafts, I'm less interested with the starts because again, I don't care about 80.
You look at the back end.
I don't care whether you start off with Steph Diggs and Garrett Wilson or Tyreek Hill and Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey and Jalen Waddle or Jamar Chase and Chris Olave or AJ Brown and It's like, does it really matter? Like you just like, go ahead and, roll some dice and whichever 2 you get, you get. And in the third, the guys that win the 3rd round, the guys win the 4th round, the guys that go in the 3rd round, the guys that go in the 4th round.
So who's your favorite team?
I don't know. I feel like it's going to take me a while to figure out that. But we didn't finish assessing Team 5s.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were doing Team 5.
Chris, you got to let us know who your favorite team is, too. You can think about that as we assess Team 5.
I already know who my team.
All right, so Team 5, again, I have no issue with him starting off Christian McCaffrey. Jalen Waddle, I see a lot of outs there in that offense, narrow target tree. Definitely don't mind that. I do think, I like the fact that he was like, you know what, let me lock in. I went running back, but let me get a top end wide receiver. Because I feel like after that point, especially once it gets around 4 and 5. There's guys that I like, but these are all guys with question marks. That's why they go in rounds 4 and 5. You can say you love them, but they go in rounds 4 and 5 for a reason. So, and then he came back and got TJ Hawk. You can always just same story we talked, the same story we had with Mark Andrews. You can tell yourself with TJ Hawk. We saw how he finished last year, so that's a story there. Travis Etienne, that kind of mid to late forward, we see him sliding down boards. I'm not an Etienne guy, but Etienne is someone I feel like this offense. That was their first year that was their first year in that offense last year. We talked about this like really early in the season where I'm not a Travis Etienne guy. I have 0 shares. But the one out that I could see is if, with Tanks Bigsby coming in and potentially taking more in between the tackles, maybe they think to themselves, now we can finally use Etienne as a weapon in the receiving game.
But Etienne is not a pass catcher.
And I agree. But sometimes,
let me tell you what Etienne said.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And then you can correct. Because again, I'm not an Etienne guy, but I'm just saying the one out that he may have is sometimes teams don't care if you're not a pass catcher. They feel like they see something and they can make you into this. So the one out that I'm saying that he may have with this is that maybe they unlock another aspect of the offense where they incorporate the running back in the passing game. And now instead of like having to give Etienne all this work, now they say, okay, Tank Bigsby, you take some more in between the tackles carry. Now Etienne, we can do things like some fun things like split you out wide, get you involved in a screen game, have you run more routes where we actually are targeting you. That's the one out. I don't believe that story, but that's the one out.
Well, I was just going to mention that, and I remember this the day it happened, but several years ago when Etienne didn't come out of college or did enter the draft after his junior year at Clemson, he actually stated that there was times he was afraid when the ball was coming to him to catch the ball or something to that, and I can find the quote later. But he didn't feel comfortable in the receiving game where the ball was coming to him. He didn't he wasn't comfortable
and
catching or something like that.
They made it a point that
he said that was part of the reason why he went back for his senior year.
He wanted to work on that, and they got him his draft capital.
I think he would have been drafted high regardless though, because he had a really good.
But adding that in there. But that's why I was never a fan, because I felt like the offense was schemed in such a way where he's just like.
Well, for me, the reason why I was a fan was just simply because of draft capital. Yeah. But that regime is gone.
He's kind of shifty too. Yeah.
That regime is gone, so that kind of is out the window.
They just didn't throw to him a lot. It wasn't that he like dropped passes or didn't look. I mean, he maybe dropped one too, but he still. They just didn't throw to him a lot.
But do they really need to split him out wide when they got Ridley?
No, that's why I don't believe that story. But I'm just, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt.
Let me speak on Team 5 real quick.
Evan Ingram too, but they split him out wide.
Let me speak on Team 5 a little. The only reason I don't care, and again, I forgot Alex's name. Don't come at me on Twitter. My bad already.
Please come at him on Twitter.
The only reason Team 5 concerns me is because if you look at the whole team, except for maybe Juju, all his wide receivers are wide receiver 2s. Every single one of them.
Some people would argue that Mike Williams
may not be
maybe like a 1B. He may be like a T. Higgins.
After you just talked up Keenan Allen?
I'm saying with some people. I didn't say what I think.
But
I just told you that Keenan Allen behind some players.
The typical
I can see it
thinking of it is all these guys, none of them are wide receiver ones.
I don't believe in Quentin Johnson this year. Like I really don't. I really
feel like it's not between Mike and Quentin Johnson, it's between Mike and Keenan.
But I think Mike and Keenan can both succeed.
Okay, but do you think Mike Williams is the wide receiver 1?
No, absolutely
That's
not.
what I'm saying. Like, nobody looks at those receivers.
Who in that round is a wide receiver 1?
But that's what I'm saying. The way the team is made.
I was hoping he was going to say Michael Pittman, but okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to get him
Hollywood. Maybe Tony.
But Tony, no, he's not. That's Kelsey.
Oh, yeah. But you're basically dependent. And I want to have as top end pass catchers as possible.
Jahan Dotson, maybe. But this
What's
is the
wrong
thing.
with Team 11,
but this is the thing.
Like,
but
out
look,
of the 11 hole.
But look. This is why I kind of like this setup. He has an elite tight end. That's hard to do. He has an elite quarterback. So when you take a tight end and a quarterback in the first 5 rounds, man, you.
But do you know how hard it is to find a wide receiver 1 though?
But his wide receiver 1 is Jalen Waddle. So look.
No, I'm saying like players that are their team's wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
You can find players that end up being a team's running back 1.
But this goes back to like our last episode where starting off with this, it may not matter because his starting lineup likely is going to be Christian McCaffrey, T.J. Hockenson, Joe Burrow.
It's going to be his first 6 picks.
Travis Etienne,
first 8 picks.
Dameon Pierce. No, it'll be likely Samaje P. Ryan.
Over who?
He's going to start 4 running backs his first week. I guarantee it.
I would start Dotson over P. Ryan.
Oh, I would not, because I doubt Javonte Williams is going to be like fully go, and P. Ryan's going to probably catch about 4 or 5 passes.
I would start Dotson. I'm just high on Dotson though. Like I think Dotson will have a good year.
That's fine, but I feel like he has 4 running backs. Like so, to me, Mike Williams, like you could say Mike Williams is your wide receiver too. You could also just say he's your flex.
I mean, you can hope that, right? Like we've seen Mike Williams have duds. We're not guaranteed Mike Williams is going to smash.
I'm telling you, that offense last year was. This is why I'm so low on Austin Eckler. If you watch that offense, that was like not to me. That did not look like an NFL offense. And you had Justin Herbert as your quarterback. The dude has a gun. You can maybe it was the injuries. I don't know. But when they brought in Kellen Moore, they were basically like, "What are we doing? We have this young quarterback with this amazing arm who literally set the world on fire his rookie year. Then we went from putting our trust in him to giving our running back 100 receptions. When we have Keenan Allen, we have Mike Williams, and we have all these receiving options.
You can say all that, but you still are not guaranteed Mike Williams is going to smash this year. And you still are not guaranteed Mike Williams is even a wide receiver too. So what I'm saying is when I look at that team, I don't feel comfortable any week with my wide receiver.
Who in the 7th round in this draft do you guarantee?
But again, that's why I go back to Team 9. I like the way they built the team. They have 4 wide receiver ones off top, and you can argue Christian Kirk might be his team's wide receiver 1.
But who's his tight end? Can you guarantee any of his tight ends are going to smash?
We can't guarantee, but if they do,
can you guarantee? What about his running back 2?
But he needs just 1 tight end.
But what about his running back 2? Can you guarantee he's going to smash?
But he needs just 1 running back.
He needs 2 running backs.
That's what I just said. I think it's easier to find a running back that's going to end up being a team starter than it is a team. It's hard to find on the waiver wire or later in drafts a player that's going to end up being their team's wide receiver 1.
Oh, I'm not going to argue with that. That's why literally I start off my drafts with those wide receivers.
Right, so, and that's what I'm saying. That's my issue with Team 5. And again, don't come at me, Alex. I'm sorry.
Man, please come at me, Alex. When
I look at the team, it's like I'm going into the season hoping Williams is a guy, or Dotson is a guy, or Juju or Nico. While I look at Team 9, it's like I'm confident those guys are going to smash.
Man, nah, you hope you're still hoping in 2 positions. I think you're hoping less.
Hoping where?
You're hoping that it's RB2.
You talking about with Team 9?
Yeah.
No, but remember what I kept saying. I think it's easy to find a running back. How long is it going to
take you to find that?
It might not be that long.
And the reason why it's going to be hard to find a running back, because I think Team 11, I think it's risky because he took 3 high-end receivers and didn't take another receiver.
Bro, y'all act like running backs aren't found on the waiver wire every single week.
I got you. But listen, I like the way that he attacked the draft because I think he's attacking the draft to win it all or to not win it all.
What about the team that started off with Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, that's kind of nice too, though. I mean,
see, here's the thing though. Y'all looking at it with July eyes.
Well, that's all we can do.
So, but here's the thing. Where is this starting lineup? Name the starting lineup, he or she. Starting lineup that where there's going to be a huge question mark.
With who?
With the Tyreek Hill team.
But that's what I'm saying. Y'all are looking at it with July eyes. The way it looks now, it looks great. But what I'm saying is, by the time the season starts, we can have injuries. We can have
that's what every team.
But yeah,
every team.
But we know running backs tend to get hurt more often than receivers.
But say no injuries. We're not talking about injuries.
We
talked about this 2 weeks ago. If we knew there was no injuries, then of course running backs would go higher on the top.
He has 4 starting running backs though. He has 4 starting running backs.
But if we knew this. That's what I'm saying. You think they're starting now because you're thinking in July.
But
once
you can say that
they might not be the running backs to have.
But you could say that with literally every single team, including the team that drafted 4 wide receivers. James Conner and Anthony Richardson.
But we know those wide there's nothing that's going to happen to the wide receivers.
You don't know
that. Something that's going to happen to. All right.
Come on, man.
Okay, but look, he also has James Conner and Antonio Gibson.
Come on, man.
Has James Conner ever been hurt? Has Antonio Gibson ever been hurt?
No.
So he literally may not have 2 starting running backs.
Those guys can get hurt, yes. But what I'm saying is he's going
to start off with no running backs.
No, what I'm saying is the way he built his team, he has 4 high-end wide receivers that usually don't get hurt. You take this Tyreek Hill team, those guys can get hurt. They can end up being in a committee. They can just lose touches.
But he only has to start 2, and he has 4 potentially starting.
He has Tyreek Hill, Pittman, Moore, Bateman.
Pittman, Moore, and Bateman are not people are excited to have on their team.
Let me ask you.
He's still a number one receiver.
But they're not exciting number one receivers. They're not, and you don't even know if Elijah Moore is the number one receiver. You don't even know if Bateman is the number one receiver. You hope they are.
But
why do you need him to be a number one receiver?
Yeah.
He just said they're number one receivers. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think he needs two?
So do you think Terry McLaurin outscores Joe Mixon this year if both stay healthy?
I think there's a good chance Terry McLaurin outscored Joe Mixon.
Because he has never done that ever.
He's never what?
Outscored Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon's on the downside. Joe Mixon.
Is Terry McLaurin on the upside?
Right.
Yes.
He's on the upside. Nah, come on.
How is Terry McLaurin on the upside? He has a new OC. He has a quarterback that they're confident in. Like everything about Washington.
They've been confident in every single quarterback. Remember who was the guy who was selling us?
What offense? But listen.
Who's the guy? Who's the
Hanky? Heineke.
But listen. What offense in Washington? Heineke was a good player.
Exactly. They were confident in Heineke.
Who was the OC then? They never had a good OC. This is the first time.
Eric Bieniemy has never like he's never really been an OC.
Oh, so you about to knock? You about to say Eric Bieniemy's not a benefit for him?
We have
no clue.
We don't have the enemy slander on this
We have literally no clue. He was never in charge of the passing game. He was never in charge of the passing game.
Compared to T-Mac's whole career, this is going to be the first time he's with a viable OC. And you can't even name the
Eric
OCs in the
Bieniemy
past.
was in charge of the running backs. He was not in charge of the passing game. So he's going to an OC he's basically going to an OC who's never been in charge of the passing game.
Compared to his career, ignore even without us seeing Eric Bieniemy actually coach. Do you think any other coach he's had has been better than what he's going to have this year?
I don't know.
Any other one?
I don't necessarily know if it's a downgrade. I really don't.
What I'm saying is, you think Eric Bieniemy is going to be?
I don't think Turner was actually that bad. I really don't.
Okay.
I really don't. I think it's a downgrade.
Because
I actually think it's a downgrade.
I'm sorry. The Commanders' offense has been horrible.
It's been horrible because they've had bad quarterbacks.
They've had bad OCs.
They've had bad
OC
quarterbacks.
has been fired.
They had Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz.
He was horrible.
Exactly. Carson Wentz is a terrible quarterback, so that has nothing to do with the OC.
But what I'm saying,
Carson Wentz got Frank White.
He had bad quarterback. He had bad OCs. This year he has an OC that they're excited about. Everybody on the team is talking him up. So T-Mac, compared to Joe Mixon's situation, T-Mac looks much better than Mixon.
That OC didn't look as bad when he was with Carolina and they were putting up numbers. So I don't necessarily know that you could say that. Okay. I think it was more quarterback than anything else.
Okay. Well, like I said, most people, they think Eric Bieniemy is going to be the best OC T-Mac has ever played with. And that's him. So I feel like he's on the upward trajectory.
I have no clue why they're thinking that.
You do know.
You can't provide any evidence of why Eric Bieniemy is a good OC.
You do know.
When literally he was not in charge of the passing game.
Come on, man. Don't do that.
And he had Emari to
do
what?
That. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Right,
everybody knows Eric Bieniemy is an upgrade for T-Mac. Like
how?
Everybody.
How?
Okay.
Tell me how. Give me one reason why.
Okay.
You can't give me one reason why.
Hey, look,
because he was under Andy Reid.
Okay.
And because he had Patrick Mahomes. There's no reason you can tell me Eric Bieniemy is a better OC.
So you don't think Eric Bieniemy is going to be better for T-Mac?
I have no clue. I think it's a downgrade.
Yes or no? You think it's a downgrade?
We're going from a guy who has never really been an OC.
Next subject, sir.
Who has never been in charge of the passing game.
Next subject.
All right, guys. Somehow I have to get these guys on the same page because on August 2nd, we're going to have our draft where we're going to open it up and we're going to draft against the viewers. And somehow I have to get these guys on the same page.
Yeah.
August 2nd. 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to actually open up, have a draft. I want to make sure I get that time correctly, but we're going to open it up. Go to ffpc.com. 9 o'clock p.m. draft on August 2nd. I have to somehow get these guys on the same page. And
Alex, Chris, all this shit we were talking about y'all's draft.
Please
come out and like do some damage. Show us what's up.
9 p.m. draft. I got to get these guys on the same page. Please, if you do want to watch that draft, follow First and 15 Fantasy Football. Follow our individual page. You will be able to see that on our individual page. Follow. Guys, I think that's all the time we have right now. I think Dio is leaving, man. He's out of here.
Well, no. We got one last thing. So, man, we got a lot of changes that have taken place at First and 15.
Yes,
hopefully, you guys will appreciate appreciating the updated and the improved, the revamped production quality, the video. Shout out to Chris. He's been doing an amazing job with that. But we got a lot more coming. I mean, the draft is just the tip of the iceberg. We got a lot more coming.
I hate draft shows, by the way.
He does.
I'm probably not even going to participate.
But we force them because we know y'all like them. But for the first time ever, First and 15 will be having guests.
Yes.
That means, and when I tell you, I'm extremely excited for the guests that we are having. Like I don't want to throw it out there right now. I am going to oversell it because I really feel like you guys are going to love who we have on the pod. We're going to bring them on the couch.
Yeah, man. The couch is going to turn into big ticket.
Into the First and 15 family, pour them up a glass, and we're going to chop it up. Like, when I tell you our first guest will actually be next week. We're not going to drop the name yet. You're going to have to tune in to find out. First guest will be next week, and then we'll be having guests after that as well. So a lot of changes. We appreciate y'all for listening. We're getting more views than ever. Please, I can't stress it enough. We are really trying to grow this family. So stop hoarding it to yourself. A lot of y'all, you hit me up in the DMs and tell me, I love the show. I want to support, but man, I can't share with my league mates. I got to keep it to myself. Please help us out.
Yes.
Share. At least if you're not gonna share, I understand. We all looking for edges. But like, subscribe. Again, shout out to Chris. Production to me has just been on point. Shout out to Dayo coming with the fire. He comes out with the topics for the most part. This is really a free-flowing format, but always bringing the energy. So, we surrounded by, a great team here, and we got some great viewers. We appreciate y'all sharing the boards.
Yes,
we will continue that segment as well. Dayo, anything to add? You got some Dynasty?
So the Cardinals, running back 2.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Keontae Ingram.
Yeah.
And I put this tweet out there, and I'm not really seeing much of it, but I'm just gonna so y'all know I was the one that mentioned his name. Emari Demercado, and I might be butchering his name. Look him up. TCU backup running back. He backed up Keandre Miller at TCU. Nice pause, but nice size for a running back.
Hey, yo.
But he
Popcorn.
drafted. One thing me personally, one thing I always look at is when there's a regime change, who is the regime bringing into the team? Who are they drafting? Who are they signing? Because they have no type of relationship or commitment to the previous players on that team. So he's the guy they took. That backup running back position for the Cardinals is still up in the air, in my opinion. And let's not forget, not too long ago, we saw James Conner as an injury risk type player. Yeah. He hasn't been hurt the last couple of years, but let's not just forget about it.
He was there last year.
Yeah.
Oh, he was? Yeah, you did get hurt a game or two. But let's not forget about that. That's a handcuff that nobody's really targeted. I don't even think Ingram's getting drafted that much. Yeah. But that's
the thing,
an option
too.
right
The most important thing is just to be aware of him.
Yeah.
Because, yes, barring injury, Connor's going to start the season off. But the Cardinals right now, and for, rightfully so, like, they are that team that, like, nobody wants any business of. Yeah. The guy, I think it's between James Conner and Marquise Brown as far as, and I think Marquise Brown has the edge as far as, like, the first Cardinal to go off the board, and that's usually, like, around round 7 in FFPC format anyway. So, like, there's not a lot of teams where the first player being drafted is like round 7 and later, and then there's large gaps even for players going after that. So nobody is believing in this team, but like Dale always says, like, this team is going to score fantasy points. And part of that is because Kyler is coming back from an ACL. We don't know what the state of that's going to be. A lot of us don't have him, starting the season. But at some point,
he said he's trying to get back by week 1.
Exactly. And honestly, like, I'm kind of liking like what I'm hearing. Like, I feel like I like this. Like, I gotta prove it. I like the regime that he needs to prove it to. I like that he wants to, like, he's hearing all this negativity, and now he's finally got to, like, because this is when players become great.
First time in his life too.
He's got to prove it. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is that, like, if there's still that chance that maybe he doesn't play this year, small chance I think, but if he does come back, which I think is the most likely betting thing, at some point, maybe week 10 and on, he's going to start getting into form. And it doesn't matter what offense Kyler is in.
Yeah.
if he's in form and has those legs, now that offense becomes viable. No matter what you want to say about his ability to be able to read defense, you know, a healthy Kyler or a mobile Kyler is going to open things up. So if this is a team that's like not worried about winning, making the playoffs, James Conner has like a little bit of a low ankle, like a grade 1 low ankle sprain, and they're like, you know, Conner, you know, sit this out, let's see what we got. They may want to take a look at that guy, and if it's in an offense with a healthy Kyler, like don't view this offense, you know, on what is it? July 17th, 18th. Don't view this offense on July 18th and think that like come November, December that it's going to look like and feel like the same offense. We're going to feel very differently when Kyler is more mobile and moving around and more healthy. And then some of these younger guys, like even Michael Wilson, who we talked about, you know, start doing a little bit of something as well. Rondale Moore may make a reemergence. You know, the rookie Trey McBride, or maybe even Zach Ertz just being healthy now is another viable option. This offense can really start to look a lot different. Right now, we just, you know, looking at it as just like this like garbage offense, but things change. Things change very quickly.
All right, guys, that's our podcast this week. Please like, rate, subscribe.
Oh, and check out our overtime videos. Or
yes.
Fifth quarter.
Man, we should have made that fifth quarter.